me now Barry O'Shea, the CEO of Highland Copper. Great to see you again.
Nice to see you, Mark.
Now, we did this about a year ago, and I'm
right.
sure things have really moved forward with Highland Copper. Let's get a brief snapshot, an overview. You've got the two projects in Michigan. They're both large resources. You've got Copperwood, that's fully permitted, and then a joint venture with White Pine. And Copperwood, you're advancing towards construction. So can you get us up to speed?
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I characterize Copperwood as one of the most advanced copper projects in the US. So a full feasibility study complete. As you mentioned, fully permitted. That's a real distinguishing factor. We've done some nice early site work, which includes some really great concurrent reclamation from an environmental perspective. And in Q1 of this year, we kicked off our detailed engineering. So really advancing that project through to a construction decision, ideally in 2026. You know, at the same time, we have a 34% stake in the White Pine project. You might recall that we sold 2/3 of that about 2 years ago to Kinterra, in part to create some capital to put towards Copperwood, but also to put a really motivated partner on our second project on White Pine. And certainly from a corporate development perspective, that's worked well, capital in both projects and advancing on both.
Okay, very good. So some of the most recent developments was a metallurgical program to try to achieve a few things, improve grade recoveries, the economics of the Copperwood project, and also reduce the environmental footprint, basically. So can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I'd love to. We put out some great news last week, and it's the culmination of some long-dated work. I put a strong project director in place about 1 year ago. His name is Vincent Van Dyke. He has a PhD in extractive metallurgy, so perfect for this nature of work. He awarded those contracts on the processing side from an engineering perspective to DRA, so bringing in some really fresh thinking. And through drilling and ongoing programs, we've really fully reevaluated the overall process flow sheet, and the outcomes have been pretty spectacular. We've proven out a 2% recovery increase from a processing perspective at lower operating costs, so we're using less power, less reagents. Broadly, when you think about the benefit of that revenue at lower costs, a really strong NPV impact for the project, and incidentally, a smaller footprint from an environmental perspective.
Now, Wakefield County in Michigan a while ago put in a request to the state, correct, for a $50 million grant for infrastructure spending. Where does that process stand?
Yeah, so the Wakefield Township is something of an underserved community, with modest infrastructure, and they've put in this grant to bring in additional infrastructure to the region in the form of road upgrades, power and telecommunication upgrades. And really to serve industry broadly. Naturally, if they are successful there and have capacity to bring some additional infrastructure, it will be good for our mining project, but for other industry as well. And I'd say most specifically forestry, who's one of the biggest economic drivers in the region. So we're certainly thankful to the township. We think it's an important project for the area. It'll bring a significant amount of jobs. And Michigan has really stringent mining regulations, so we're going to do it really well from an environmental perspective.
Okay, so with Copperwood, next steps, engineering, you mentioned, construction decision. Take us through that process.
Yeah, so we're just coming to the conclusion of what we call phase one engineering, which is landing on final design criteria. I think the news we put out on our metallurgical update last week shows you we're largely complete there from a process plan perspective. But we're doing further work on the mining side, tailings and water management, and over the coming weeks, we look to put out further information in terms of the overall design of the project. And I think there should be a nice read-through that we're really rethinking the project in its entirety. And as we step then into phase two of our engineering, the goal is by Q2 of next year to get to about a 40% engineered. And the significance of that is we'll fully understand the project at that point, the schedule, capital and operating cost updates, and really put ourselves in a position to make a responsible construction decision, and moreover support ourselves through the technical diligence required from a project financing. So through 2026, naturally look at project financing and a construction decision.
And lastly, Barry, you've said before that your project sort of stands out from peers for a number of reasons. The jurisdiction, Michigan, safe and supportive, highly leveraged to copper, and as you said, you're fully permitted. So are those really the things that make you stand out from peers, do you think?
Yeah, I think permits are an incredible distinguishing factor. There are very few fully permitted copper projects in the US, and really at a time when copper supply is quite urgently needed. Michigan is an industrial state. They need copper themselves, and of course the US does broadly. But that leverage to changes in copper price is also incredibly significant. We have a statistic that shows that if we move from $4 to $5 copper price assumption, it triples the net asset value of the project to about $510 million. So as we advance along, the development curve and push this project through to construction, it gives us the capacity to really step towards those asset valuation targets, and excited about the next year.
All right, I'm sure you are. Great stuff. Thanks for the update.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, good stuff. Barry O'Shea, CEO over at Highland Copper.